Wow, man.
20.
The good old concrete convention, huh?
Exactly. You know it well.
I remember when Ozzy performed at the one at the airport in L.A. down at LAX. Was it the Marriott?
Yeah.
One of those places, and he played "Bark at the Moon" twice. This song is called "Bark at the Moon." They jammed the song. 5 songs later, this song is called "Bark at the Moon." Oh, and it's like, wait a minute, you guys played that already. Anyway.
We were taping, and they wanted to use that song for the video.
Ah, okay.
He was
Okay.
happy with the first.
Ah,
Jared
okay.
wasn't happy with the first
All right,
one.
yeah, because Zach didn't know that. Zach goes, dude, he called it twice. Anyway, cool.
But do you remember it was the first Foundations Forum,
I remember that, yeah.
and Mark was actually working with you guys,
Mm-hmm.
right, over at Epic.
Mhm.
He was like, you really want to get the Suicidal to play. He goes, but they can't play LA because
Mhm.
it's the cops won't let them, blah blah blah. So we played you guys under a different name.
Yeah, I don't remember the name. What was the
I
name?
forget what the name was. We played you in a different name.
I know we played it. It was at the country club out in Reseda in the Valley. And I think Creator played that show with us. I know Faith No More played, but not at that venue. Guns N' Roses also played. Not at that venue. They were somewhere in Hollywood. Yeah, I remember those days. That's cool. That was probably the first time I started working with them.
Do you have any good memories from the? Before you get those, any good memories from the Foundations Forum?
Well, I just remember there being a great balance of bands, all sort of in a 5 or 4 day span of time. You could see so many different types of music. I mean, you had bands like Faith No More coming up, and obviously Guns N' Roses was starting to really kick in, and heavy bands like Creator, Suicidal, XL, I think played at one of those. Obviously Ozzy. I mean, it was a good time for music back then. A lot of alternative bands were hitting hard, like Jane's Addiction. And then you had the Chili Peppers, of course, Primus. But Foundations Forum was good for that. People were excited about that. They'd come from all over. You get the Europeans there. Yeah, I come to see Suicidal und Ozzy Osbourne. It was cool. Prong, that's right. Prong was on that too.
Were there any bands that you really got to know for the first time that you exposed to for the first time at Foundations?
I think Faith No More was one of the bands that I discovered through Foundations. I mean, I had heard some of their stuff on the radio, but that's when I actually was able to see them, and Axl came up and sang with them, I believe. And I think he lost his wallet that night. He lost his wallet.
It was front page news.
Yeah, he jumped off the stage and lost his wallet. What else? There was another band from, I want to say Denmark, but no, it was Amsterdam. And to me, this band sounded like Rage before Rage did. What were they called? They were a rap metal band. Do you remember who they were? Come on, man, they were there.
I know. If we had.
They had. I remember they had acoustic guitars, kind of sometimes in their music. Little black guy rapping around the stage.
Oh,
They were from.
Right.
Yeah, from Holland. And I can't remember their name, and it's freaking me out. And the guy's voice was just like Zach's, a similar voice, before Zach, pre-Zach. Anyway.
Well,
Okay.
We're going to actually, the whole concept of this interview is we've done a compilation series.
Okay.
We're doing a compilation series with Rhino Warner.
Okay.
So Concrete presents 20 years of hard music. So we're talking to all the bands that we've talked
Okay.
We've done on there.
Yeah.
Right? So we're going to go back and just bring up some good bands. We just did Primus, we did Slayer, it's been great.
Okay.
Let's go back to that time frame,
Mhm.
right? When Suicidal was just really going on and things were really happening. What was the scene like as far as in the world of hard music?
Well, it was all fresh and fairly new at that time, especially incorporating other styles. I mean, you had bands like Scatterbrain, who were maybe, I don't want to say an offshoot of Ludacris, but I don't know if they were a spin-off band, but somehow they emerged out of Ludacris, which was an incredible band. I know Mike Patton loved them. I loved them. You know, I thought they were amazing. Sort of an underground, obscure, abstract collage of metal mania. I mean, massive riffs all over the place, hitting you from all over. It was pretty amazing. Phil from Pantera actually turned me on to them. Pantera, another great band that emerged from the old days. But it just seems like back at that time, we're talking like 89, 90, you know, and maybe 91, there was just a lot of fresh, fired-up talent. You had bands coming out of the Bay Area that were real strong, you know, Primus. You know, I remember seeing Primus at the Ritz in New York opening for 24/7 Spies, and there being like, you know, 10 people in the audience. And Suicidal was uptown at the Ritz, you know, 2 sold-out shows. And it was like a dinner time show. So I went down there and saw the guys, and you know, was blown away by them. And then I saw them again in Los Angeles at a little, you know, 150-seater bar out in Long Beach, California. And you know, they turned out to be, you know, very, very progressive, great, funky outfit. But a lot of bands got to know each other back then. You know, you had bands like Fishbone touring with you know, Jane's Addiction, and you know, once again Primus in the mix, and you had Faith No More, you know, going out with Voivod, and you know, Suicidal. We took Pantera out with us actually, which was pretty slamming. Also too, we had God, I am drawing a blank right now. Do the Toxic Waltz. I can't believe this, man. Come on, Mario. This is embarrassing. Do the Toxic Waltz, man.
That's not overkill, is it?
Do the Toxic Waltz. What band? Exodus. Sorry, guys. Do the Toxic Waltz. Okay, anyway, that was a great tour. We had a great time on that. Anthrax was hitting hard. A lot of great bands, and the cool thing was it was a bit more wide open than it is now. Bands were experimenting a little more. It seems like now a lot of groups are really, really kind of following each other. You know, there was a bit more of an identity back then. You know, bands like Alice in Chains or Soundgarden, you know, coming up. You know, Nirvana, you know, soon after. You know, obviously Metallica with the Black Album, you know, Faith No More. I mean, it was really cool. Everybody was so pumped. In LA, you could see any of these bands. It was like 4 times a week you could catch somebody like this in concert, you know. And a lot of times it would be at a small hood rat club, you know, English Acid or the Cat House, you know, or one of these places. So it was a lot of fun, you know, and I miss those days. Problem with those days, though, is I never got any sleep. You know, that's when I turned to surfing, really turned to surfing, because I got tired of going to bed with the sun, and I decided I'd switch that around and start trying to wake up with the sun so I could hit the ocean, be healthier.
It was, again, the music was, there was just something special about that time. I don't know, but you're right.
Yeah.
That was just so many different bands, different styles all come together, and being able to tour with each other, like you said, was a unique thing.
Yeah, and if you know, if you were on the road and one of these other, you know, tours was also out there somewhere, you'd cross paths, and there would be mayhem. You know, you'd have these wild parties and just a really good time. It's very different now. You know, it's somewhere along the way it changed and shifted gears, I think. I don't know that people are supporting a lot of the local talent as much as they used to. People were very passionate about it back then, and you know, people. You know, we were all like kind of in RVs and stuff. I remember when we were out with Pantera, I wanted to get a ride a day or two early into New York City to hang out. And I remember I had this massive shit attack, believe it or not. I couldn't crap on their RV. They probably wouldn't have minded, but I didn't want to, you know, to disrupt their vibe. So I tried to hold it. And they dumped me out somewhere in like Times Square. So I had to kind of find my way to where I was going to be staying. And I was actually at my friend's house. I got to my friend's house. He was asleep. It was 4 in the morning. I'm knocking on the door, and I just couldn't hold it. There was a stack of newspapers on the side, man, and I just, you know, I released myself nice and neatly on the stack of newspapers. And, you know, finally, about 3 minutes after, he opened the door, and I'm sitting there, you know, kind of holding my pants going, bro, I got to use your bathroom. And those are my memories of driving back to New York with Pantera. You know, their RV was held together by duct tape and you know, all kinds of creative things. But yeah, great times. I remember doing the Infectious Grooves project back then. That was so much fun too, and it reminds me about that time. You know, we had Stephen Perkins from Jane's Addiction, Ozzy Osbourne. I mean, Stephen just got off a platinum album. Ozzy, you know, No More Tears was just stepping up at that time, and they were so cool. You know, I didn't really know them that well back then, and they loved what we were doing creatively, and they, you know, tracked with us, recorded with us. It wasn't about the money. It's different these days. I don't know if musicians would just jump into that realm anymore, you know, especially when they don't know each other that well. But Ozzy just sort of jumped ship with us and helped us out with a track called Therapy, and then actually ended up taking us on tour with him and did a video for us for Therapy. You know, same with Stephen Perkins. He didn't need to be there. He didn't need to record with us. He ended up doing what I think was one of the most progressive drum beats for that time, combining metal and sort of a hip-hop flavor. I always say Sabbath were one of the first bands to do that with songs like, you know, Sweet Leaf and stuff. The Pocket, you know, that Bill Ward was laying was so funky, but that groove is so heavy and memorable. You know, he was, you know, and that's what Stephen Perkins was doing with Infectious Grooves. He was approaching it more from, I don't even think we really knew what hip hop was back then. You know, he was just going for more of an organic kind of rhythm and blues, funky, maybe James Brown meets the Meters. It was the Meters really where it was coming from. He had this 15-inch piccolo snare drum that was, I think it was about 2 or 3 inches thick, and he used to tweak the skin on that. And when he cut that track for us, we were all blown away. We were there with our mouths wide open, you know, amazed, because we'd never heard you know, such a heavy groove with such a funky beat. Outside of Sabbath, of course, you know, all my props to Sabbath. And back then, you know, that's what it was all about. And over time, you heard bands like 311, you know, starting to incorporate that flavor, and other groups along the way, stepping up and experimenting more with some of that flavor. And I don't know if we had any influence. Some people say we did, you know. Some people, you know, I don't know. Everybody had their influences at that time, but it was fun. I appreciate it more now than I did actually back then, you know. So that was great. It was like nothing, everything to gain, nothing to lose. With Suicidal, you know, we were going on tour with bands like Queensryche, but then we'd, like, you know, open for Slayer in Europe, you know, in front of some of the most brutal audiences, you know, in the world, you know. I remember doing Clash of the Titans with Megadeth, Slayer, and Testament, you know. And once again, we were there just hood-ratting it. We were on this tour with bare minimum, no catering, nothing. We were the ugly stepchildren. And every night, man, we stepped it up, and, you know, we generated a lot of attention from those days.
Sorry.
Hey,
How much more time?
how much time can we have?
Like 5?
You got it?
You cool?
Yeah.
Yeah?
You know, and those were special times, you know. It's like you kind of should go through that in life, and especially, you know, as a band, you know, you go through those rough times together where you have those sort of challenges. I mean, we opened for Guns N' Roses, you know. I remember being in Italy, performing a show in Italy, opening for those guys, and people, you know, throwing some shit at us. And Mike and I were so freaked out and pissed off, we went out in the audience to try and look for whoever was doing it, only to find that, you know, 40,000 people and everybody wants our autograph, and, you know, 1 or 2 people who we could never have found, you know, in the mayhem. It was like, what are we trying to do? I mean, what, you know? But those were the good old days, man. You know, we just were always challenging ourselves. And of course, we toured with Metallica in '93 and '94. That was a great honor, and we had a lot of fun, man. We were out there with the Cult in Europe. Had good times with them. I remember playing soccer on the soccer field, big, huge stadium for the World Cup in Torino, Italy. And the security guards at the stadium, because it was sort of a sacred field, and you do not go out unless you're the member of, you know, some international football soccer team. And there's, you know, Ian Ashbury and I kicking the soccer ball around trying to score goals on each other, and the Italian police chasing us around. We didn't understand what they were saying, so we just kind of toyed with it. We're probably lucky we didn't get shot, but we always talk about that when we see each other. But, you know, a lot of these things, I don't know if that could go down anymore, you know. It's, the world is in so much weird conflict and turmoil, and everything's under the microscope these days, especially in the music business. You know, it's changed, you know. It's a more sterile environment, and hopefully it'll start to change, and I think it kind of will. You know, bands like Mars Volta, I really appreciate them. Meshuggah, Candiria, you know, I think the progressive movement will start stepping up, and people start taking more chances, because that's what we used to do. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, right on.
I'm going to throw some things at you real quick.
Okay.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to name a band.
Okay.
And you can give me a one word. It's kind of like a back and forth type of thing. You give me one word, you can give me an anecdote. You can say, "Ooh, I really don't know much about them," or you can just, however you want to do it. Right?
Okay.
So let's say Prong.
Prong. Killing Joke. See, he knew. Prong was very cool. I actually enjoyed their music very much. As a bass player, I would have approached that band from a different direction. But I think that Tommy was doing some very cool stuff. I love the vibe of what they were doing, and I think they're back again. Yeah, I have to check it out. But yeah, those were good times. I remember seeing them with Pantera. But I also remember Pantera, just being so damn heavy and vicious at that time. Prong was sweating pretty hard back in those days, because they had to deal with Pantera in their prime opening for them, and that was rough. But I really love Killing Joke, and to me, Prong always reminded me of Killing Joke, which is very cool.
Primus.
Primus, yes. I remember way back, probably in the mid-'80s, a friend of mine had a vinyl album of Primus, and he was raving about these guys. I saw them open for somebody, and I don't remember. This is bothering me. No, it wasn't Mr. Bungle. I saw them at the Palace in Los Angeles, out in Hollywood. And Les just blew me away. You know, he was so damn funky and progressive. It was something different, and you couldn't put a label on it. And that's what I love so much about it. And I remember being over at Canner's Deli on Fairfax in L.A., and I was blasting, I think it was Tommy the Cat, and there was this homeless brother who was kicking it on the meter, and he was just standing there on the meter, and I was blasting Tommy the Cat. He was like grooving to it, and I turned it off, and he goes, "Yeah, man, that's just funky. That's some funky shit." I said, "Yeah, man, I like that. I like that. You got $1?" But he until this day, it's like whenever I hear something funky, I'm all, that's funky. That's nice. So Primus injected me with some vicious, funky-ass, medieval, organic stuff back then. And so did that brother.
Is that Mark?
I don't know.
Let's Soundgarden.
Soundgarden, great, huge, thick, big riffs, lots of dynamics. Their grooves sounded so simple and thick, but often they weren't, a lot of progressive things coming out of the rhythm section. Brutal band, Cornell is the master of melody, and, hopefully someday, probably not, but maybe we'll hear from them again. But yeah, great band. Pretty wild mixture of characters too. They're kind of like cartoon characters to me, each guy in that band. They were so different, and yet they were very medieval. Exodus. Dude, the Toxic Waltz. Party Animals. Gary, man, oh geez, he was fun. That tour we did was mayhem. Suicidal, Pantera, and Exodus. I remember going up on stage with fire extinguishers during their set. We didn't know, we thought fire extinguishers was throw a little smoke out there, or some innocent, nice, safe kind of dust that wouldn't harm you. These guys were choking in this hot, tight, sweaty, small club, and we're spraying them away. I mean, we almost killed those guys, Rocky's up there spraying John Tempesta, and they were not happy. They were very upset with us, and I think we felt bad because we realized that we almost killed them. But Exodus was a fun band to tour with, definitely, and I like their version of Lowrider too. It took me back to my roots.
First time you heard Metallica?
Oh, I don't even remember. I was probably still in diapers. I know for a while there, all I had in my cassette player was Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets. I mean, I listened to those two albums ritually. We always call that the Holy Grail, And God bless it that I'm able to get up there and perform these classic songs every night. I tell you, here we are in 2004. Lucky for me, I'm able to be a part of Metallica now when they actually really want to perform and play these older, obscure songs. They actually welcome it. And it all started out because I really wanted to play Dyer's Eve, a track which they had never actually performed. And I kind of started out with Kirk, said, hey, we should really, really play this song. The fans want to hear it. It's kind of a joke to the fans that this song hasn't been played. And then I kind of hit up Lars, and Lars was like, yeah, this is great. It's fun. I'm open to it. So I had to work on James. James is the one who kind of was against some of that spontaneity. And now here we are, a year and a half later, we play that song, not every night, but every couple of weeks we'll throw it in the mix. And it sounds great. We're having a lot of fun with it. And since that, we've started playing Trapped Under Ice, Disposable Heroes. We're mixing it up more and more. Having a lot of fun with the spontaneity of the set these days. And that's great, because in the past, I think Metallica was pretty regimented with their shows. So the band's not afraid to take chances anymore, and it's a new beginning. And we're done.
Come on in. Come on in. We're going to do just a happy birthday, and then we'll go.
Oh, cool.
All right. Come on.
All right.
All right.
With a little happy 20th Crete.
And happy birthday to Robert tomorrow.
Tomorrow? All right.
Really? Oh, gee, thanks. You know, I keep forgetting, and everybody's reminding me.
You know, reminded me.
It's a problem
my
being on the
daughter.
road.
Really?
Because it's her birthday tomorrow.
Oh my! Really?
Yeah, it's Sophie tomorrow as well.
You're kidding? Oh my God! I'm going to be 40. Big 40, yeah.
Nice.
Big 40, man. You know, it's always nice to say I'm in my 30s. You know, you're holding on to the 30s, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, I can't say that anymore. Huh. Bummer.
It's just 2012.
Yeah, it hits
That's
you.
all it is. It's 20.
That's it.
Kirk always says.
Exactly.
It's the new 30.
Exactly, it is.
Wow. Well, happy birthday, Concrete. 20 years of fired up energy and the good old progressive days of the late 80s and the early 90s were always fun. And you guys were a force to ignite that flame that launched so many wonderful bands, you know, from Pantera to, you know, Prong, I mean, Faith No More, all the great shows and all the great times that I had at the convention and all that. Happy birthday and more to come. Cool?
Thank you very much.
All right.
Excellent.
Cool.
Thanks.